Hello, my name is Alyx, and I am starting out in trying to show not only like my makeup skills, but also just an everyday kind of get ready with me. And so this is my first like makeup tutorial, and I think that people of color, even light people of color such as myself, we don't have enough representation. Also, I have been told that I have some of those olive undertones. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm only ever seeing like the people with cool tones or just straight warm tones and then neutrals. But I never hear a lot about olive tones. And so I'm just gonna try this, see where it goes, and hopefully I continue this. So, if you hear any music, don't worry about it. I'm just listening to score music in the background. But let's get started. So for my primer, I use the e.l.f. Hydrating Face Primer because I actually suffer from dry skin. And more so in patches than anything, but the oil does build up in my face, especially in like the T-zone. Always gotta make sure blend it nice and smoothly, and don't forget to bring it down to your neck. I am someone who has a longer face, so I need a little bit more than somebody who has, say, a round-shaped face or a heart-shaped face. What's weird is that even though I do get oily in my T-zone area, I actually do suffer from like dry patches on my nose. So let's go ahead and get started with my foundation, which I use the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear in the shade 420. And I've actually used this only twice, but it gives me the greatest coverage ever. And it's not like overly matte, but it's also not super dewy. And I personally like to use a sponge when applying my makeup because I think it gives more of that fresh and natural look than of how a brush kind of just layers. I unfortunately don't have a handheld mirror. I actually have a full body mirror, but I was not about to do my makeup in front of it. And so I use the wonderful and ginormous mirror in my Storybook Wizardry and Witchcraft palette. And so if you notice, I only used one pump. And I've been able to cover 2/3 of my face so far. Well, 1/3, because I still have yet to blend out the other side. But you can already see like of all the discoloration I have here, and then of how it's getting covered over here. Like, you see how it's all nice and even? Don't worry, this is a birthmark. Do not worry about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and blend the other side out, and then do a second pump of the foundation. I also feel like I'm kind of far from you. And then if you haven't noticed, I don't have a vanity. So I'm not just someone who could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit in a chair and have this wonderful handheld mirror. But, I mean, everybody has to start from somewhere. So you might have noticed that I don't put foundation on my eyes. That's mostly because I have oily eyelids, and if I put any foundation or concealer on them, it'll crease and it'll look terrible. So I just try and stick with leaving them be. And no, I did not forget about my neck. Sometimes I'll do that as the first thing of my foundation application, and sometimes it's my last thing I do. So here it goes with the third pump, which isn't too bad because I don't push down all the way when I'm using a pump foundation, because I always like to think that if I start with a little bit, I can just build where I need to, when I need to, and so I don't have to go wasting. And then if you happened to notice, I do just apply the foundation directly to the sponge. I personally don't like to put it on the back of my hand like others do, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's just my personal preference. Gotta make sure that I am covered everywhere. My nose isn't looking too bad. And like that's kind of saying something because usually I'm like super dry. And then you kind of see how my birthmark for the most part has disappeared. I always try and hide it, especially whenever I go to work. I usually part my hair the other way so it covers it, but these last couple of weeks I've actually parted it this way, and when I haven't been wearing makeup, people, they freak out and they're like, oh my goodness, like, are you okay? And some people think, oh my goodness, like they have a bruise and like they're being abused or something. And no, it's just a birthmark. Okay, so going to switch over and use my NYX Full Coverage Concealer in the shade Beige. And I usually like to use my e.l.f. concealer brush. I keep the plastic on because I'm a germaphobe and a perfectionist at the same time. So I just kind of do like a 1, 2, 3 of scooping out the concealer. And I understand it actually looks a bit more yellow than the foundation I have on, but it actually highlights my face pretty well once it's blended out. Trying not to block you all at the same time. And these brows right here, these are natural brows. Like, there's no color added to them, no tattoo gel or whatever. All natural. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people who draw on their eyebrows. I sometimes like to draw mine in as well. But more so when I'm just feeling like they're kind of sparse, because I do have patchy brows. So after I apply my concealer with a concealer brush, and that was an e.l.f. concealer brush, I just like to go in with a sponge and blend it out. Even though I said this was a get ready with me, I'm actually not going anywhere. Just decided to do my makeup on my day off. Okay, so I'm gonna do a bit of an up close to show you. I just like to make sure that my foundation is actually set in around it so it doesn't look like you can see the demarcation lines of like concealer and then the rest of my foundation. So I'm gonna set the concealer with the infamous Airspun powder. I'm gonna use a Real Techniques face brush. So nothing too heavy, just kind of to make sure that nothing creases. Now the L'Oreal foundation has a fragrance. I'm actually okay with it because it doesn't linger after the foundation has dried down. But it made me think of how the Airspun powder has a scent to it. And at first it was okay, but after a while I'm just like, I don't like the fragrance it gives, but whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my contour cream palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the, I believe this is the light palette. Yes, and I'm going to be using the shade Cinnamon. It is one of my favorites because it's that warm tone that I need as a warm tone person, even though I do have olive skin tones, undertones. And I'm also not a heavy person for contour. And then I always end up overdoing one side. But because I am left-handed, it typically tends to be my left side that I go heavy-handed on. But if I use a different part of the sponge to help diffuse a bit of it, it helps. So I'm gonna go back in lightly because I'm gonna chisel out this nose. And then sometimes I definitely go ham on the contour of my nose. And I don't mean to. I really don't. It just kind of happens. But then I can always go back in with my foundation sponge and make sure that I can diffuse it just a little bit. Trying to see both sides, and as you can see, the window's over here, so all the light's coming in over here, and that's why all of this shadow is happening. And it's also why I kind of just pick you up and make sure that everything is fine. Okay, and now going back one last time into the cream contour kit so I can chisel out this jawline. Also, for the record, not saying I'm any kind of beauty guru or a self-taught makeup artist, but I am self-taught in terms of doing my makeup. Like, you can only watch YouTube tutorials for so long before you just have to do stuff for yourself and kind of learn of how makeup application works. Okay. Alright, so now that I have laid down my face, going to just comb up these brows a little bit with my handy dandy Posh Eye Trio brush. And then part of me wants to put on mascara, another part of me is like, don't do that. And it's only because I have a waterproof mascara. And don't get me wrong, absolutely love a waterproof mascara. But taking it off is always, it's like the bane of my existence. But instead, I'll just move on and do a little eye look. Not sure what to do at the moment because I'm not going anywhere, so I'm thinking, should I just be dramatic and do something dramatic? So here's the color scheme for the, sorry, my mind is blanking, for the Storybook Wizardry and Witchcraft eyeshadow palette. And it's fairly nice. I absolutely love it. Because when I see the color scheme, I think Harry Potter, and that was their inspiration behind it, obviously. And then I also have the Jeffree Star Androgyny palette, and it has this nice color scheme of the cool tones of the green and the blues on the bottom row, and then that typical neutral eye look that's on the top row. Move this out of my way. Okay. Yes. First, need to start with an eyeshadow base. So I use the NYX HD Studio Photogenic eyeshadow base. Need enough for both eyeballs. And I actually go back in with my concealer brush and I use the other side of the brush to just tap everything in and make sure that my eye is fully primed. Gotta make sure that there's no line of demarcation between eye look and foundation, because this eyeshadow base is lighter than my foundation. Gotta make sure that you can't see how severe the separation is. So almost finished here. Okay. Okay. So gotta start with a transition shade. I still don't know what kind of look I'm going to do. I know I've been wanting to play with the greens that I have. Okay. So I think what I'll do to start is I'm gonna go in with the shade Military, and I'm gonna use that as my transition shade. And I only tapped in once. Now, the greens and the blues are a lot harder to blend, and it's just because their formulas are a lot harder to make, as we've all been learning. Oh, that actually blends really nicely. Like, I usually struggle sometimes because my skin is uncooperative. But I would say that is laid there in the crease. This last part's just okay. And then I'm gonna go into the shade Poison right there. It's like a blue-green, like if you remember the crayon, blue-green, like that is this shade right here. I'm just going to put that right here on the outer corner, and I'm gonna try and keep it here in this crease. What I realized as my mistake was continuing to use the same brush. So let me grab the actual eye crease brush, and these brushes are all from Elf. Have to take all the product off of what was on this brush previously. So I'm using the eye crease brush from Elf. Okay, and because I have the color on there of what I want, I'm going to go ahead and use, where is it? There we are. The Elf blending brush, just to smooth that out. Gotta make sure I grabbed the right one. No. Okay. And like I said, blues are no joke. Okay. Alright, so far I have this eye blended to where I need it to be. Almost. Over here already lying to you. Okay. And that's about as good as that blend is gonna get. I don't know what color to do right in the middle. Like I can actually do the shade Deja Vu, which is right here. It's like it's a bronzy little moment. Is this, yes, okay. And then I will transition out with a lighter shimmer shade. So where's my other brush? There we go. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna take this eyeshadow brush from Elf and just 1, 2 into this palette and just place it right here in the middle. And then taking the smudge brush, going in with a 1-2 from the Wizardry and Witchcraft palette, and in the shade Bewitched. And then going to put this part on the inner part of the eye. Yeah, I'm all about the funky colors. because right now I'm just packing in the blue, that blue-green. And then need to find the blending brush. No. Stop it. Okay. Here we go. And then to go back in with Deja Vu and make that harsh line nice and smooth. Like playing with colors, story of my life. Go ahead to make sure that this is nice and fluff out here. And then I'm gonna go back in with Military just to take off the harshness of these lines. Which I'm pretty sure still looks pretty harsh. Okay, so one eye down, another to go. It's not gonna be easy because y'all saw how much blending had to go into these. And for this side, just made sure to double dip for this shade Military. Okay. Gotta go with Poison and really build that inner corner.
Do you know what no one ever talks about? The benefits of Spotify.
Okay, now to go in with my blending brush. I never like to touch my face or my palettes, but can I get away from either of them? No. And then sometimes my right eye will come out better than my left eye. Sorry again. And then out of the Wizardry palette, I swear, the right eye does definitely come out a lot better than my left. Mm. It's actually really nice. What I am not liking at the moment is because I can't see things from a distance of like how good something looks because I am nearsighted. Just gonna pack a bit more of the shade Bewitched right here to add that oomph. Also just gotta make sure that the bronze color doesn't get lost on my right eye. And that the blue is still there. And then just to clean up these lines, I'm gonna apply some concealer. On my wonderful, my small smudge brush. Which I was meaning to pick up the small concealer brush that Elf carries. And let's see. Gonna make sure to blend it into the skin. Okay. So there's one side, and then I'm gonna go back in for the other side. Oh my gosh, hold on. Sorry. Let me see if I can put this into the frame and y'all still see it. Okay. Because being left-handed means not being able to do the other side of my face. Granted, I am ambidextrous, but I have not attempted to do my makeup with my right hand because I don't trust it that much. Okay. Alright, well this is looking super nice. I'm gonna actually fix my brows again, and I'm actually gonna put on a little bit of color, because why not? I use the Rimmel London in the shade black brown, or brown black, whatever comes first. And I make sure to brush up my hair just where I know that it should be going. And I always deal with like those last bits of hair right here that are just not straight. And I mean, that's fine, because I'm not, but I want my eyebrows to be looking good. So I just kind of feather the pencil through because I don't need much. And I sometimes use the brush on the end, but for the most part I use the Posh brush. And it's only because it's a little bit more flexible with the bristles. It's not as like rough that I'm like pulling off any dry patches of skin that I do typically have on my eyebrows. Okay. 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 So I know it always looks like one eyebrow is thicker than the other. And it's never intentional. It sometimes happens that way. Like right here. Like, this is not a chunky eyebrow. It's really not. It's just the way that my hairs right here don't cooperate. Okay. Double check in this mirror. Okay. Like there's never any winning. But I think that is all I will do. The mascara I usually use is the Voluminous Butterfly Sculpt Waterproof from L'Oreal. But like I said, it's waterproof. I don't want to put it on. I'm not going anywhere, and it's a bitch to take off. I usually put on a liquid lipstick with my foundation. Other days I just go around with my usual chapstick. But setting spray, I use the Urban Decay All Nighter, or I will use my my e.l.f. Just makeup mist and set, like high-end drugstore, whatever. It's all the same. But this is the completed look. Gonna just toss on my glasses. And yeah, that is the end of this Get Ready With Me. And I hope you liked it, especially this wonderful eye look. I know being a person who wears glasses, it's always really difficult to see, like, oh, what gloriousness is going on behind the lens or the frames. But if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you have any critiques, I am more than open to constructive criticism, because everybody has to start somewhere. But thank you for watching. Subscribe, and I hope to do more of these. Just, yeah. Bye.